Welcome to the YCS New Jersey little sort of mini aftermath we've got going on here. We did have a couple of other guests planned, which will hopefully happen at some point later this week. Unfortunately, the only one who managed to get a stable internet connection is Calvin here. So we're just going to do his little mini tournament report, talking about his experiences at the event. And yeah, currently up on screen you should have his deck list. And you should be able to see what abomination this man decided to play here. So, Calvin, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to everyone out there.
Sure. All right. Well, I'm going to preface this with I just had a really, really tough day at work. It's going to be a tough couple string of days. So I'm mentally drained and physically torn up. And I mean, I'm just when you just come back from an event in general, playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh for an entire weekend, especially into day two, is just I don't want to use the word stressful because it's a good thing. It's my hobby and I love it. But it's like I have never been more exhausted than I am on a general basis after 11 rounds of Swiss. And so that topped off with the drive back, topped off with lack of sleep and work yesterday and today. I'm lucky to be alive right now. So I'm going to do my best to not give out wrong information and not give out not fail to answer things to the best of my abilities. But with that being said, my name is Tahan. I'm an American duelist from Virginia. I'm currently the team captain of Ultra Reality Games' new competitive Yu-Gi-Oh team, featuring great players such as Jeff Jones and myself. And I guess Mike Albanese, Noah Green, Ryan, Gabe, Max, and Vinny. We've got a great roster, the 8 of us. 3 of us topped. I guess I'm the only one here right now. And I do have the most unique deck, I think, probably of all time. But definitely this weekend.
Okay, right. So before we get into your deck profile, your planning process, and all of that kind of stuff, let's just start with the elephant in the room. End of match procedures. What happened? How was the event in terms of the end of match procedures for you?
Well, I'm playing an SDK deck, so I am. If you summon Buster, your opponent scoops up their cards.
Okay.
Let me walk you through. I lost no game ones. I lost a game 1, round 10 of my feature match, and it was the most niche, incredible loss I've ever lost. It's he bricked. I searched with a Unity Hanger. I searched an A. I had no other pieces. He was reincarnation. I'm okay. I'm any droll. He's no, I bricked. I'm okay. So he just banishes my A. I play 3 of each piece. I draw desires. I banish the other 2. So it was incredibly niche. The only game when I lost. And other than that, my typical game ones would go something hand, I draw them, or their turn ends, or maybe their turn doesn't end, but they set some back row and they're playing Brandish or Trickstar, so their deck doesn't do anything. I'm evenly matched, they're down to 1 card. I'm okay, that resolved. Mid base 2 terraforming. They're Ash. I'm Gamma. They're okay, next game. So typically didn't really go into time all that much.
Okay, of course, but in the very rare occasions that you did go into time.
I'm talking from but I can still reflect on what I think about the community, not just from my own experience. I went in time round 7, and even if I hadn't, I still have an opinion on it.
Okay.
I definitely think the new rule is ridiculously toxic. I'm gonna. I have some inside information I can't really share, so I don't even know why I'm saying that because I'm just not going to share it. But the point, it is brought to my attention that there is a point to all this, and there's a reason it conveniently happened right before nationals. And all I will say is that if you look at the standings, 100 people got disqualified throughout the event, 100 duelists, and it wasn't just random people that had messed up once and went in time once by accident. It was people who kept continuously oddly, strangely, specifically getting these slow play warnings in time in game ones when they were playing Trickstar and stuff like that. Wink, wink. So I think the idea to, I don't know, it's kind of like Thanos snapping his fingers to me. It's just weeding out the toxicity in the community. It's an interesting idea from Konami. I don't think it's very healthy for the game in the long term because you can't really play Yu-Gi-Oh the way that. So something I will point out is that, I want to further elaborate. The Brandish deck suffered the pure Brandish deck suffered so much from this rule change because in testing it was just an unbeatable machine, And like, it didn't matter how many cards you whittled it down to. They would come back with so much advantage, and they would just float and float. And in Yu-Gi-Oh, in a 40-minute game, they just have 1,500 attack monsters, and so like they're up all this advantage, but they can't do any damage. And these other decks are just out pushing them, and they're losing rounds in Swiss. So that's why I think the deck was like not heavily represented in top, is because it literally didn't have a win condition. But with that being said, once the few of them did get into top cut, they got really far because time of match procedures changes in top cuts, and it goes to turns.
Yeah, I heard that pure Sky Strikers had the highest win rate in Top Cut compared to Tricksters.
Yeah, because the duel doesn't just end when they get burned by a Licorice now. Like they get 4 turns no matter what, and their deck just accrues so much advantage that like if the game's allowed to see its logical or its natural conclusion, the deck will win more times than not, which is really interesting. And I don't think it's fair that a deck like that can exist and not be favored in Swiss during an event just because they can't play fast. It's not even fast enough. It's long enough. They can't play long enough. Their turns are quick. It's like not them slow playing. So my opinion is that I don't like it. But I'm not jawing. I'm not crying about it because I had the ability to adapt to it, and I did, and I will continue to do so because that's just how the game is.
So when you were initiating the deck building process and the planning stages before you went into the event, did you care or did you take this into consideration at all when you chose your deck, or was it just a case of I'm Calvin Tahan and this is my signature deck, I'm an idiot?
No, to be honest, I didn't actually theorize the building around it so much as like my main deck or archetype or whatever wasn't really influenced, but like definitely some of my tech cards. Not that there were many, but like I chose to play more blowout cards than like steady cards, if you will. Like I don't know, and like just my mentality going to the tournament as a whole changed. Like I was very I flagged over a few judges for like some of my opponents who were like clearly trying to like elongate the game in like a very simplified game state with like 2 or 3 cards in their hand. Like just doing like as a veteran duelist, like what I had to do to like not lose to like a cheater. And a lot of people like actually Ryan, and he's like a little socially awkward and like didn't want to do that and just lost twice for free because of it. And I'm like if you're gonna go to Worlds, like you kind of have to do this thing. It's the integrity of the game. It's like it's not up to like you like to do the right thing and like hope your opponent does. Like part of like being a great player is making sure your opponent does. And if like you're playing somebody who isn't worthy to be playing you and has to resort to cheating or slow playing, like it's your job to have the burden of proof and get them out of the game.
In all fairness to Ryan, his position in Worlds is pretty much solidified, so he didn't. He didn't want to like get himself like into potential trouble with
No, we had that conversation. Yeah, he chose to just like scoop and drop from the tournament. He was like, I'm not mentally ready for this. I don't want to get DQ'd from like some misunderstanding. So like he basically just chose not to enter, even though he played 11 rounds. Mm-hmm. But like yeah, it was the right thing to do, and I told him before the tournament that if something came up like that, he should do it. So we're playing the long game. We're in the end game now.
All right. Well, moving on to your deck list. What's like the overall theme here? Because like, for those of you who've seen your profile, you said it's blind second ABC. Can you please explain to me how blind second ABC makes sense in any relevant universe?
It typically doesn't. In past formats, I toyed around with the idea of something like it because like ever since Clara was printed, I was like, man, making busters super easy with Clara. I wonder how good that is. I actually not really going second ABC, but like trapless ABC in general was something that I tried at the beginning of like I want to say the Link rules. I played like a Brilliant Fusion, like I played like Gamma, Brilliant, like Hanger, like Destrudo, like Ravine. ABC deck, no traps, and like it just revolved around making Buster, and it did it like all the time, and it was like one of the earlier builds I tested in the format. But we found that it just couldn't really win because the cards in the format, like I was looking at like spiral cards, like pendulum cards, but like one Buster like interrupt doesn't like stop those decks from destroying you. And the reason Buster is so historically good is because it's tagging out, and you're tagging out, and you're getting those pieces that they typically can't clear. And that you're gaming them with the next turn. And just in the format where it was positioned at the time during that process, it just wasn't a viable line of play because it would just make like sleeper, double helix, like, and you would just have pieces, and like the pieces wouldn't matter because you can't target any of those things. So that I'm talking about like way down the line. But the reason it's good now is because I think that if you're in a meta with like Trickstar cards and like Brandish cards that can't, half your pieces can't be affected by spell cards if you have V equipped to them, they really can't address like Buster tagging out and just having a board of like floating cards that eventually turn into like a Bora load and like another 2 Busters. There's no deck that can pressure, like if they force like a Buster tag out with something like if I have a Buster and they just like raw Widow Anchor it or play the Smashing Ground card, something to force a tag out for in quotes free, like I tag out for free where I don't like get any advantage or get to banish something, that's not detrimental to me because they can't deal with the pieces and they have no way to game me through them. And so they're just dying for free the next turn. So with that logic, I was like, well, the most consistent way to make Buster, if we establish that Buster is game in a format like this, where the cards are playing just suck.
It's a bit of a steep assumption to make that Buster's game, but okay, let's go with it.
If I'm going to assume that, then the best way to go about doing that would be making it going second because, like I said, Clara is just a 1-card Buster, so I make it like every time I go.
Okay. You've mentioned this a few times. Could you just explain how this card is a 1-card Buster, please?
Okay, so like, it's not actually a 1-card Buster.
Weirdly enough, it's not. Okay, but what's the idea behind her?
So Clara, so you go Union Hanger. Clara is just a monster you can make with your normal summon monster in main phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you go like Hanger, like search anything, equip like C to it. And then you go like send whatever you like made. So the C, like let's say you go B. So you go search B, equip C. You go make Clara. So you have Clara in your link zone. C and B go to the grave. And B triggers and you get to search something. C triggers if you already have a piece in your hand, which you can legally summon beforehand. So it can be like triple B. Your hand can be like triple B, or your hand can be like double B Union Hanger, and you can like search. I mean, in this case, you search A, so that's a bad example. But the idea is that like you don't have to have the A as one of the other pieces because you can form your chain link so that B searches it and then C summons it, and then you tune the Clara and the newly summoned piece into like Decode Topper or something, or Underclock. And then that's just Buster because you have all 3 pieces. That's like the simplest way to do it. What Brandish introduces is just like by having a token, like let's say I just play the token first, do the same exact thing, like make the Clara, but I don't have the other piece in hand, so I search a piece with B, but C can't summon it, so I just have a B and a C, like a B and a dead C engraved with like an A in hand. I can play the token, and then from there, just make like Phoenix, and then just like discard, hit a back row, and then like literally just obligatorily discard the A. And then that's your Buster. Or you can do it a little bit differently. Play the token first to make yourself have a Link 2. So then your Link 2 can upgrade with the Clara into a Link 3, which is usually Unicorn. So if I'm doing this, if it's against an empty board, I do it with the Unicorn, and I literally just spin the Unicorn with its own effect, which seems... but like you discard the A, spin Unicorn, and then you just make Buster. And like you like in quotes, you like -3, but like it's an FTK. So...
All right.
Yeah, it's like you just make it so often it's ridiculous, and it's so easy to do it. So that's like how the deck functions and plays out. And I found that like just the heavy hand traps were game versus a lot of decks.
Before we get into your hand traps, because I do want to mention them. In the meantime, before we come to close or whatever, people in the chat, if you have any questions, please make sure you tag me, and with your question, I will forward it to Calvin for the Q&A part. But yeah, let's get into these hand traps. So, I mean, it looks pretty reasonable, but I'm just like, can you just explain the 2 Reaper, like your ratio for that choice, please?
Yes. So,
it's not going to convince me, but try anyway.
Oh, it should. I'm trying my best not to repeat anything I said in a deck profile because I only did like 2 or 3, like Asian Persuasion, Slim, and like they're all really good channels you guys should watch. So I don't want to like just rehash information you guys could already see from there.
Yeah, the thing is, I watched those profiles. You didn't really make an argument for why to.
No, in that specific one, I was just trolling. But there's another one I did where I talked about it. But I'll gladly talk about that again because anything theory-wise, I would love to talk about here. I think this is a good outlet for that. So Cherries is a really volatile card in that it's not useful if you draw it as your 6th card. Unlike I mean, I want to say like unlike in like air quotes, unlike any other hand traps. Like, yeah, seeing Ash as your 6th card is like great. Like, I could wish that were in my top 5. Like, I could have stopped their terraforming, but like it's actually not bad because every deck right now just searches on their turn 3. Like they search turn 1 and then they set themselves up to search again on turn 3.
Okay, I get that. So you can like search, you can draw it, and then you can stop like reincarnation, for example, if it's your 6th.
Exactly. So,
Right.
like drawing there per turn is like not inherently bad. Drawing,
but isn't reducing your chance to open the Reaper like just as like sort of nonsensical as?
No. So here's in a vacuum, yes, but I'm already playing 9 hand traps, 3 Gamma, 3 Ash, 3 Droll. So it's not like, oh, like I have to open Reaper. Like if I were playing nothing and just like, you know, like the old day, like Maxi and 3 Reaper, like, yeah, 3 Reaper would be correct because it's the most powerful hand trap that you want to see. But right now, Reaper isn't definitively stronger than the other ones. It's just like another one that's like as game as the other ones, and like slightly more game versus some other decks. Like it's like versus Brandish, it's like okay, like I always hit red, and like so like them playing without red or like with only 1 copy of red if they have Ray is not like favorable for them. They'll lose the long game, and they always do. It's not great versus that matchup. I side it out, but like it's worth main decking. But like it's game versus Goki and game versus Spiral, and game versus I guess the mirror's not a real thing, but it would be over. So the idea is that cards like Ash, Droll, and to an extent Gamma, if you're able to make the Omega and recycle the driver, can all be used more than once. Reaper cannot be used more than like it can be, but like you're hitting like versus Spiral, I'm like boom Reaper. Like if I open like a Reaper, I'm like double Helix, and then like if I have another Reaper, I'm like I guess I'm gonna hit like I like. You know, you're this awkward thing. Like, I guess I like hit something that I could lose to, but like I can't lose already because I already have like hit their Helix. So you're like, maybe I just keep it in my hand as like a discard for Buster, which is what usually happens, and that comes up a lot when the card's at 3. This is just like fundamental Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, you play a card at 3 if you always want to see it, and don't mind seeing more than one. Play a card at 2 if you want to see it sometimes, and never want to see more than one. Play a card at 1 if you're awful. It's called a fun of. I played a fun of scapegoat at YCS Atlanta. Yeah, there's no good justification for playing a card at 1, other than it being a fun of and just obligatorily doing it. But 2 is actually just sound theory. It's correct for a lot of cards.
Okay.
And I so in a vacuum, 3 Reapers is definitely correct. But because I'm already playing 9 other hand traps, and I just wanted like a higher number, like I just wanted 11, I played only 2. Okay. And I thought that in that spot, Reaper was still more powerful than like Ogre would have been, or like something else. So that's my argument for that. And I stand by that. And I would do it again.
Like surely maybe like Impermanence or like Valor would have been better in that scenario.
No, cards don't have effects. Impermanence, I sided, and I never once put it in my deck. It doesn't do anything. It's probably the worst secret rare that I've ever paid more than $30 for.
Okay. All right, talking about your side deck, actually. So you mentioned in a lot of your profiles, like you never put in Impermanence, you never put in Ghost Ogre. Twin Twister was for going second and stuff. Why didn't you just main the Twisters if you're good at blind second?
So I wasn't as convinced. Like I just told you, for example, that I like mained Cherries, even despite it not being like fantastic versus Brandish and being way dead versus Trickstar. I still made it because I thought it was like auto win enough versus Goki and Spiral. Twin Twister is unplayable versus those decks. I wrongly anticipated that I'd play a few of them. I didn't play any Goki. I played 1 Spiral. I played a Spiral round 6. So like I just didn't want Twin in my main deck because and the other thing is like there's not like a whole lot of like hard traps that are being set. Brandish more like you're always gonna hit like a scapegoat, like a reincarnation versus Trickstar. They're just gonna chain everything. Rarely you'll hit a strike, which is good, which is why Twin is good. But it's I don't know. I just like at the end of the day, I couldn't find room for it in my deck. Like the flex spots were the 2 Reaper, and I just chose a stronger hand trap versus the board than something more specifically niche to Trickstar, only Trickstar or only Brandish. Of course, hindsight's 2020. Those are the only decks I played. But yeah, even still, I think Twin is just better in the side. Even while blinding second, I think if I were to change something up at all, if I wanted to cut the Reaper, I'd play Call by the Grave or something. That's such a good going second card because I don't know why I wasn't playing that in my deck anywhere, let alone in my main deck. It just wasn't on my list. Mm-hmm. But that's a good card.
Okay, yeah, because that was one of the questions someone asked was why no call. Finally, before we jump into the Q&A, your So you mentioned you have this like I win going first smoke screen, whatever you want to call it, for
Yeah.
when you're anticipating your opponent going first. So I see it's 6 cards total. What was your reasoning for deflector, and also why didn't you max out on the anti spells when it's like just so auto win versus some decks?
Okay, so when I'm going first, we already established that I have literally no way to make Buster if I go first. That's a lie. I could put together very specific like 4-card hand that does it, but like it should never happen. So I can't make Buster going first. So the reason anti-spell has been good historically is because you just kill them the next turn. Like you anti-spell, you make them set everything, and like they're just dead. But like anti-spell wasn't really played a lot at this event in like a lot of deck lists because like no deck can actually just kill them. Like you don't set anti-spell in the Brandish mirror because like if you just have anti-spell, they're like okay, set 5, and like you can't game them next turn, and they're just gonna flip their 5 on the following turn, and the anti-spell is inherently just a -1, and it slows you down too. And that's true with like a lot of decks. ABC, I think, is the only deck that's kind of not true for, because even if you just go hanger, like summon like C, equip B, set anti-spell, it is guaranteed game on the following turn, kind of. At least in the sense that you can like create it into like a Phoenix and then a Unicorn and then a Buster and clear the cards they set under the anti-spell. But I didn't play 3 because I didn't think it was a quote unquote auto win like it was versus Pendulum historically. It really wasn't. So I played 2 because for the same reasons as Cherries, I didn't want to see it every game, and I definitely didn't want to see 2 of it at the same time, but I wouldn't mind 1. And I found that Magic Deflector were just interchangeable, if not better than anti-spell a lot of the time, specifically because Red Reboot. I think Deflector is the best card to set from your deck with Red Reboot. Like if they're Red Rebooting you, it's the best card to set because then it just turns off their whole turn on your turn, obviously. Like if they set Scapegoat, if they set Widow Anchor, none of that matters because you can Deflector them on your own turn and kill them. And I did that, and that was really good. I think if anything, I would have played 3 Deflector and maintained at 2 anti-spell. Of course, Order is just game really good. And I played the Solemn because I don't know, I think having a hard negate in game 3 is very valuable, especially like it's just very valuable. So I don't know. And again, I didn't talk about this in the video, but the reason that this is viable to begin with is because you're doing it under the assumption that they will side out their cards, like a lot of their hand traps. They will side out like a lot of like their like MSTs and stuff like that, because like they will be under the 100% assumption, and it would be correct assumption in any other case, that they're going first. So if you're going first, you like don't want to have MST, and you just want to have combo cards. So like maybe like they're not going to take out Ash, or like because Ash is just the best card, and they're playing Trickstar, they're not going to take out Droll because that's an FTK for them. But they might take out they might not like put Ogre in their deck, because like they're going first. So that's why like you can blind first and like resolve hangers, so like you feel safe doing it, and then like set it back like just one back row, and it's usually enough because they just have going first cards. That's why that works. Only sometimes, not every time, and I only did it twice, and it worked both times. But yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a pretty in-depth analysis of what happened and stuff. So I guess like just getting into the Q&A real quick. Again, guys, any questions, feel free to forward it. So Calvin, when you're answering these, try and make them as short as possible, like 30 seconds or so, because there's quite a few here.
Okay.
So do you consider probability at all when you're deck building?
No.
Okay. Did you consider shared ride?
I consider is man, that's I might need a redefinition of that word. I consider it in the sense that like
did you think about it for your list? Did you test it? Did you maybe want to include it?
In the sense that like I knew it existed and quickly dismissed it as an option.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I think it's good in the Brandish mirror. But that's I didn't really want to play it because I'm going second, and that's just no.
Okay. Did you ever consider maybe something like the Brandish field to throw in with the terraformings and stuff, and maybe a set rotation as well?
That I did. I considered it, but I never tested it because I recognized that the Brandish field spell was just really awful in a non-Brandish deck where like you can't set like Metal Folk, so you didn't send it, or you can't like send something. It was just and I wanted to play set rotation so badly because I was like, damn, like I only have 6 hangers. Like I really want a way to like always open hanger going second, because like going second, like you're drawing 6 instead of 5. And then I eventually just came down to like, well, I'm playing Upstart, I'm playing 3 Desires, and I'm playing like the Mobilize, which I sometimes draw a car off. So it turned out to be enough. But like I did really, really want to fit in set rotation, but I couldn't.
Okay. Thoughts on Altergeists as a deck?
I think it's really unplayable.
Okay. Any reason why?
I think that unless you like, this was a cool interaction last format, and it's kind of cool now too. But like, if you open if you lose the roll and open Impermanence and Multi-Figure, that's just like an FTK. Like that's just your version of Droll Reincarnation. That's a really cool thing. But I find that if you don't do that, you just can't win.
Okay.
Like you just can't win ever. I don't really know how to go further into it than that. Your deck just sucks.
All right. Fair enough. Did you ever consider something like Curse Seal?
No. I don't like I said. I was going second, and when I was going first, I still preferred the floodgates or like the sure things, like deflector, which has no counterplay really. Other than reboot, obviously, but reboot can stop any trap anyway. No, I don't think even in the Brandish deck, there's like turning off one very specific spell matters. It might matter more in the mirror, but not like versus other decks.
Okay. How was this iframe engine for you overall?
Really good. I don't know. Like, there's always a little bit of luck in every tournament. I did banish my gamma or my driver off desires twice, I think. But every time I did that, I either didn't have gamma or didn't draw it off the desire, so it never quote mattered. And then there was one time where I opened driver. Actually, I opened driver like 3 times, so it's not like I was like crazy lucky never drawing it. But there was only one time where I opened it and it got reincarnation, and then I did draw into another gamma that I couldn't use. Outside of that, and I played 13 rounds. It was phenomenal. That card, like, you feel so safe under it, specifically because they cannot call by the grave view, because gamma activates the hand and stays in the hand. So there's like no counterplay to it other than them wasting their own ash on it, or Bell if they play Bell. If Bell sucks, if they're playing Bell, you already win. Yeah, like they have to use their own ash on it, and that's just not favorable because then like they're down an ash, and like your gamma just stays in your hand, and you can use it again on the next chain. So there's really no counterplay to it, and I think that I felt so safe every time I drew it.
Okay, all right. I think that's pretty much everything that's been asked so far. Feel free to go ahead with your outro and plugs and stuff now, I suppose.
Okay, let's see if I remember this. So I've been on team for about a week.
Oh, my question is, why the fuck didn't you shout me out in any of your fucking profiles?
I have a real reason.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not a good reason.
Okay.
So the real reason I didn't shout you or anybody out, I shouted one person out who I borrowed cards from, and who I specifically told him, I was like, hey, you gave me these cards with 3 impermanents that I never used, but they were like $200 total. So like I really thought I needed them. I was like, if you do this for me, man, like I'll shout you out. So I did that to him. The reason I didn't shout anybody else out is because I was so very concentrated on remembering my sponsors and remembering what they were called so that I could shout them out, and I just forgot all of them.
What do you mean what they were called? It was ARG. What else could you forget about?
That's my like ARG. No, but like I was supposed to shout out Gamerings. I'm supposed to shout out Monster Protection. And there's a third one I'm not remembering. Okay. Oh, literally the third one. This is crazy. The third one I'm supposed to shout out is just the ARG Circuit Series. So not ARG the company, which is what I work for, but specifically the Circuit Series. That's my third sponsor. Go to those events. That's why I'm so good at Yu-Gi-Oh! I just play phenomenal players every round. There are people who still, Europeans, I'm sorry, but there are people who still do fly over, like from Australia, from Europe, from South America to play in the ARGs. Less now than they did then, but we're trying to bring them back. But they're just the best tournaments that I've played in my entire life are just 5 ARGs, top 5. And they're just great. Really good community, really good people. I think it's a really good, honestly, they have the best judge staff too. I'm not like a guy who's like super into politics or super like if I'm ever like trash talking anybody in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's because I think they're a cheater or it's because I think they suck. Like I'm never gonna be like, oh, Komani did X or like Konami events don't count. It's just like an ironic thing I say. I don't really have like anything against any company or like individual, but like the fact of the matter is that like the judges at Konami events are like purely bureaucratically chosen. Like they're just chosen because like they run locals or because like they've like been in quote unquote the program for a long time. They don't have to know shit about rulings. If you've just been a registered judge for 5 years, you can head judge. You don't have to know anything about the new set, reading the cards. That's not the case for ARG. There's a very like tried and true Like Josh Babarnik is probably, I think, the best judge of the game, and he's head judged most of the ARGs. I think that matters, like a lot. Like having a competent head judge, it adds so much to a tournament. I'm gonna stop talking about that specifically because I know you guys are sick of it, but I am really passionate about that, and I would be saying it even if I weren't on the team, because, and you know this because I have been saying it for 10 years, despite not being on the team till last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you leave a comment down below describing your favorite thing about Calvin and his deck.
Hang on. One more thing. I have one more shout out.
Okay.
FarfaYGO. Go ahead, subscribe to his channel. Really funny dude. I don't know if you guys watch the videos or like watch his streams, but he's great. Yeah, that's what I got.
Shouting me out on my own channel. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
I told you I would.